Hi folks, my name is Linda Emmett and welcome to Happiness is an Inside Job. We are the creators of our own reality, we create our own lives. Our mind is our biggest limit and it's our own beliefs, behaviours and habits constantly caught in those cycles that keep us trapped where we are and stand in the way of our own happiness. So throughout this podcast, we're going to take a deep dive into some of those beliefs, habits and patterns, where they show up in your lives and what you can do to change them. This week, guys, we're going to be looking at some of the other tools and behaviours that we use to combat our stresses and those stressful emotions running in our system, rather than actually focusing on or alleviating what's driving the stress. So some of the other behaviours that we're well known to pull in as tools are Netflix or TV numbing. This is actually, they've actually put a title on it, so many people use it, Netflix numbing. And that's, we all like to sit down and enjoy a little bit of television of an evening and just chill out and relax. It's when we're binging on television, when there are other things we want to be doing or need to be doing, or other parts of our lives that we're missing out on because we're sitting and watching 8, 10, 12 episodes just to numb out, just to escape. That's when it's becoming a behaviour that's alleviating the stress. And again, it's looking at what's triggering the stress in the first place. What is it you're trying to avoid? What are those feelings that are coming up for you? Another couple of behaviours that we use, that some of the more popular ones, would be gambling is another one. And again, we get dopamine hits from these things. So we get instant gratification, a quick reward, a quick hit. And instead of us seeking out the oxytocin, the things that bring us actual joy, those loving feelings, that bonding, we can get addicted to or trained into just looking for the dopamine hits, which don't last. And we're left chasing more and more of these. So gambling is another one that shows up. Again, when you ring down the dial on that slot machine and it goes ding, 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 we're getting a hit from that. When we're online and we're buying that lotto ticket or buying that scratch card and scratching it off or playing those games or wherever the style of gambling is, it's when it's negatively impacting other parts of your life and you're choosing this thing over other things in your life. That's when it's beginning to have a negative impact. And again, it's working on what's triggering the stress and the negative feelings or the anxious feelings in the background that are driving you to want to escape through this behaviour. Sex is another one. We've all heard of sex addiction and how much it's shown up. And again, it's the dopamine hit that we're getting from the sex, the different feelings that we're getting within our system. That's what's driving sex addicts back to needing that hit and needing that hit. And it's looking at what's lacking. What are the emotions that you're not getting, that you're trying to fill that void constantly? What are the negative feelings you're trying to move away from? And it's things like this, guys. It's what we're moving away from drive us towards those behaviours and the tools we use. Be it, as we discussed, the emotional eating, the alcohol, the gambling, the Netflix numbing. These are behaviours that we pull in to escape, push down or avoid emotions that we don't want to feel. Those negative emotions that we're not doing enough, we're not good enough, we don't get the appreciation we deserve, we're not respected, we're not valued, we're not loved. It's these things that we're moving away from, causing the stressful feelings that drive us into those behaviours. So, and again, we can try and exert a lot of control in our lives. And it's bearing in mind that you cannot control what is going on around you, but you absolutely can control how you react and respond. And that's where our communication styles comes in. And it's looking at how we communicate and what we're communicating. And this brings us nicely, guys, into our next topic, which is anger. Because there's two styles of communication. There's communicating non-violently, which is actually asking for what you need, be it in work. I need a bit more help with this project, I want a pay increase because I've taken on extra workload, be it at home, I need more help with the kids, with running the household, with the shopping, with your friends, I need you to come and meet me sometimes, or whatever it is. That's communicating non-violently, asking for what we need, that appreciation, that respect, getting our needs met. Or there's violent communication where we're acting out what we need, where we're reacting and responding with different styles of anger. So one of the styles of anger, guys, one of the top styles of anger that I think in a way can actually kind of frighten us all a little bit when it shows up is explosive anger. When we go from 0 to 10 in split seconds and go from your standard situation, you're driving along in your car, listening to your tunes, maybe on your way home from work, and you know, everything's gone grand, then someone pulls out in front of you really, really quickly. Like that, your fear is struck, and like that, from 0 to 10, you feel your whole system responding. Your whole system feels charged up, your adrenaline is rushing, your energy is up, and above all, the rage that's running in your system. And you will be thinking things or saying things that you didn't even think you knew the words. You will be roaring, cursing, swearing, wishing terrible things on that person that cut out in front of you. And that, guys, is your explosive anger. And this can show up a lot of the times when we don't want it to. Maybe when we're like that in the car in road rage. If it's a regular thing that's shown up, it's certainly something that you need to look at. You need to look at what the actual triggers are of that. When it's shown up maybe at home, when something small happens, and it's really a scenario of the straw that broke the camel's back. What's behind that is you've very, very likely been pushing down small irritations regularly. When people are annoying you a little bit, like not doing what they said they do, not doing their end of the work, not taking their responsibility, not helping you out. You didn't ask for what you needed. You assumed they knew or should be doing their job. You're pushing down those irritations until there's literally no more room to push them down. And then something small possibly happens and you explode. Sometimes at the wrong people, and then you're left feeling guilty, a bit out of control. You're not sure where those feelings came from, and then you feel really, really bad because you're potentially going back and apologizing to people that you may not have wanted to explode at anyway. So it's looking in that scenario, guys, at what those little intolerances are, what those irritations are that are building up, and using your voice in them situations. If someone isn't doing their end of the work, be it at home, in any relationship you're in, it's having that conversation. Yeah, it's a little uncomfortable, but not near as uncomfortable as if you explode and you feel really, really guilty or bad. You explode at the wrong person, or you explode in work, possibly at the right person. So to help yourself, it's having those conversations, using your communication and actually asking for what you need in the moment prevents a lot of that explosive anger. The second style is when we turn it all internal. And I think every one of us as humans have the tendency to do some of that at least, and especially when it comes to loved ones. We can turn it internal because it's easier to blame ourselves than blame them, and it can turn into a little bit of self-abuse. Another time that this shows up is when we have quite low self-worth, so we actually believe a lot of the things that are happening are down to us anyway, because we're a crappy person, we're not good enough, we don't do enough, we're not smart enough, good looking enough, any of those things. So turning it internal means we're taking it out on ourselves, we're treating ourselves quite badly, we're punishing ourselves and turning that anger inwards. And this can show up again with alcohol, when we're really binging and really making ourselves feel bad. It can show up with foods, it can show up in any of the behaviours, but when it's crossing the line and when you feel like you're literally punishing yourself, that's when the anger is turned internal and you potentially are abusing yourself. So working on the self-worth and the self-esteem, Why is it that you believe that this is all your fault? Why is it you think that whatever situation it is has happened because of something you've done or have not done? And it's looking at what's driving that. What is it you're judging yourself for or angry at yourself for? And it's changing those things in the background because they're triggering the stress and they're triggering your responses to the stress. So again, looking at what's driving the behaviour in the first place. And the third style that comes up on the anger radar, guys, is habitual irritation, where we're regularly irritated in our life, sweating the small stuff and expressing your anger through regularly being irritated with people. And we all know those people, and sometimes we are those people, possibly, guys, where you can see irritation on someone's face when you're approaching them, or when someone's walking up to you and you're feeling a little irritated just by, oh, they're going to ask me for something they need to, and I have so much to do, and you're already irritated. So if you're seeing this, you'll also see it actually, guys, in relationships where we play out the same parts regularly. Did you bring out the bin? I asked you to bring out the bin. When I asked you the other day to bring out the bin, you said that you were going to bring it out in a minute. It's now 2 days later. And replaying those same scenarios regularly and driving your own irritation are habits of irritation. Habits that you have in your life that you know irritate you, but you keep playing the same scenario over and over. For this one, it's look at what you're surrounding yourself with in your life. How much of your life is about you and how much of your life feels like a chore? Because that's potentially why you're quite irritated in the first place. You're irritated by the amount of things you have to do, the amount of chores, the amount of stuff you're doing for other people, the to-do list. You're irritated by how you're living. And that's hugely coming out in how you're communicating with yourself, with others. And if you look at, guys, when we're irritated and frustrated, look at how you're feeling within yourself, because that's the main person that you're impacting the most in all of this. You're the one that you're having the lasting impact on. And again, as I mentioned, stress over time, feeling regularly stressed, hugely impacts your health and your overall wellness and well-being. So looking at your life and building more in of what you want. And we may say to ourselves, I don't have the time. The thing is, time comes to those who create it, not to those who try to find it. So it's making yourself a priority in your life. Making you a priority will alleviate some of your stresses, because some of what you're doing will alleviate your stress, and having you front and centre as a part of your own life. And it prevents then that living a life where you're rocking around each day, feeling irritated and feeling on the edge. And number 4, guys, sarcasm. Sarcasm, as they say, the lowest form of wit, but also absolutely a way of expressing anger. And it's a way of making a point, but not directly saying it. So you're getting to say what you want to say, but in quite a sarcastic way. Like, oh, you look busy, don't you? You know, you actually mean the opposite. Or, oh, you look nice. What we're potentially saying is, where are you going? Done up for them, are you? Going out with your mate? Again, sarcasm, you know, oh, didn't get that done, did we not? Too busy? And again, we're getting our point across without communicating it in a more confident, relaxed way. And the thing is there, look at what you're leaving an opening for the other person. How do they respond to that? What are you expecting back from them? If you're saying to someone using sarcasm, oh, you look busy, don't you? You're not going to get a nice, relaxed response. That person is getting defensive. They're going to defend what they're doing, and that's the energy and response you're getting back. So you're not getting done what you want. You're actually just creating a tense atmosphere. So instead of going into that territory, it's thinking to yourself, what do I want to communicate to this person? What is it I actually want to say? What outcome do I want to achieve? What do I need them to do? And communicate that one sentence. Because creating sarcasm and making those comments is making what you want to get done or what you want to communicate a much more lengthy process that could potentially involve an argument, frustration, and lack of understanding. So just communicating what it is that you want will get you where you want to go much, much quicker. Style number 5, passive aggressive. The style of relationship communication across the planet. This is where we are not saying what we want to say, but we're communicating through a sulk, raising murder over another issue that's not the actual issue, be it we're not feeling appreciated, we're not feeling respected, we're not feeling loved, and we use other ways of communicating that. Real passively, but with that aggression in there. Like maybe having a fight over not doing them Delphi were sitting there yesterday and they're still sitting there today. Having the actual conversation where we say, I need more help in and around the home. I need for me to feel valued and appreciated and feel like you're weighing in here too. I need that extra help, and you leaving those Delph sitting on that counter, I feel disrespected, or I feel underappreciated, or I feel not valued. And it's us avoiding saying these things that drive the passive aggressive scenarios within our relationships. And this also shows up, it mainly shows up with our loved ones. Because we can get away with it as well, guys, and where we might sulk. We don't get what we want. So rather than actually say, well, I really wanted to do that, or I really wanted you to do that, we sulk and we don't talk. And what happens is we end up having to talk about this at some point, but we've potentially created something much bigger. Because when we go into that sulk mode and we get angry, what happens is if we're focused on our anger, your brain will pull in more things to support that anger. So what you start doing is pulling in more memories of the last time they done something like this, or the last time they done the scenario. And the argument that we can end up having brings back 10 years ago in band camp, you done this. And 12 years ago, when I was on the retreat, you done this. Or the back garden was like this. We pull in loads of memories and create something much, much bigger. Again, rather than communicate what it is we want and need. And it's looking at why we find that so difficult. Why we don't ask for what it is we need. And a part of that is we're not fans of feeling vulnerable. We're not fans of letting the other person know that we have needs, that we have wants, because that gives them an opening to reject that, to reject us in a way. That tends to be the fear that we have. And trusting in ourselves and trusting that you do deserve those things you want. And if you're in a relationship, be it a home relationship where it's shown up, to be in that relationship, you have every right to those things, that respect, that appreciation, that love, and communicating that these are the things that you need. In work, if it's shown up there, if we're being a bit passive aggressive in there and we're doing the opposite of what we're asked to do just to get back at someone for not doing the thing that they said they do, and we're going round in these kind of circles, again, it's looking at what it is that you need. What's the outcome you want from the situation? And learning to actually ask for what that is. Be it more appreciation, be it knowing your work matters, or whatever it is that you actually need, and coming from that place and going into the situation thinking of what the outcome is that you want. Because as I said, these are 5 different styles of angry communication. When we're not actually communicating from a more positive, confident place, and it's looking at why we don't want to do that. What is it we're afraid of if we do ask for what we need? And again, as I've mentioned earlier, guys, sometimes that ties back to feeling a little low on ourselves, feeling like we don't deserve these things. And if we don't deserve them, we're afraid to ask for them, but we act out in different ways through our anger. So looking at what it is in your life, whereabouts the anger is shown up, what are your triggers? Is it shown up a lot in road rage? Are you habitually irritated? Are you irritated every day in the same scenarios? Is it shown up a lot in your home life? Are you turning it internally? Are you reacting badly to yourself, not giving yourself some of the things that you know you want, treating yourself badly? That mean inner critic is running in your head saying awful things to you. You have goals and dreams, but you're not going for them. Looking at these things, where it's shown up in your life, what your triggers are, and looking at what it is that you do actually want. The thing is, guys, no matter what, we are going to communicate anyway, be it through non-violent communication or violent communication, which is our anger styles and our anxiety and our stress, and communicating that way. And the person we're harming the most when we're communicating through anger is ourselves, because running stress and anger and rage within our system regularly does have a detrimental impact on our health, our well-being and our relationships. So effectively, we're really hurting ourselves by not learning to communicate what it is we want and need, and using other tools, as I've mentioned, the emotional eating on what we need. Alcohol, Netflix, numbing, all of these things to avoid the communication. And the anger also can make us feel really guilty and ashamed, and driving us back to those emotional habits that we're attached to, re-kicking the cycle and leaving us feeling out of control and unhappy. So looking at where your triggers are, what events it's shown up in, and asking yourself, why is it I'm afraid to communicate what it is that I actually need? Because this is actually having a detrimental effect on my life and how I'm feeling in myself. Being angry regularly is like taking a little bit of arsenic every day. You're polluting your own life. You're massively impacting how you feel and how you're living. So choose change. Choose you. Choose to learn other forms of communication, because it may feel a bit unfamiliar, uncomfortable at the time. But so did learning to read, learning to write, learning to drive. It's just building new habits, but building new habits that support your life, your happiness and how you want to live. It's all in your hands. In every moment, in every day, you have a choice about who you want to be. So choose you and choose your goals. Thanks for tuning in, folks, to this week's episode of Happiness is an Inside Job. I hope you really enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next week, same time, same place for the next episode.